right, we are back. It is the Woodward Sports Network.
Yeah, it is.
Woodward Nights with Booner and Broder. Appreciate you, every single one of you guys tuning in right now. Just a big family. We love the chat. We love all the listeners. Make sure you guys hit that like button and then share the stream. Look at Broder with that beautiful helmet over there. We're talking about that tonight too. 940. A lot of things have come out from it. I'm excited to actually talk about that.
Me too.
Maybe we'll do that a little earlier than 940. We'll see. I'm pumped. All right, let's talk about it, Broder. I got in an agreement or disagreement with Easy a little bit, and what happened too. Okay, I'm gonna break it down for you. You were watching. I got into texting battle with him today because Easy, it felt like for a while there's some people who are like the Detroit Lions have no chance. 0.0% chance of going to the NFC Championship, competing to go to the Super Bowl. That's just what it's felt like from a handful of people. And to me, that's kind of like, all right, what are we doing here then? Like, what are you doing for the whole, like, if you have a team that can contend, that's 6-2, what are we talking about staying up here on the desk if you don't think that they can go compete for a Super Bowl? Do you know what do you see where I'm coming from there? And that's where it is. Like, that felt like, it feels like a SOL type of crowd. There's people in this same time slot, a competitor of ours, just down the road, that their nighttime slot talks all the time about SOL and how the Detroit Lions can't go win this, we'll never go do this, and that, to me, it's like, I don't want to be that. Like, I want to be that crowd where it's like all these other teams in the NFL that have fan bases and people that are talking about them that are consistently good. Like, why do those fan bases have that confidence? That's where I'm like, okay, we should have this confidence.
Yeah.
This isn't a football team that's 6-2 like the Vikings last year, who everyone knew they were frauds. They went on a 4-game win streak and beat every team by 20+. Like, it wasn't a one-possession game like the Vikings last year. So that's where I'm at with this, where I was like, what are we talking about here that the Detroit Lions can't go contend? Like, you look at Patriots fans for 20 years. You go look at 49ers fans now, even though they haven't won a Super Bowl since the 90s. Every year they're like, we can do this. Why can't we have that? Like, why is it crazy for people to have that thought about Detroit Lions right now? Like,
it's not.
It's not, exactly. And there's some people who are, and that was the thing with Easy, and what Easy didn't realize, which in the back, or it wasn't even in the back, he was still sitting in this chair. As soon as the stream went down, I explained to him, do you understand, like, they don't need the 1 seed. If you get the 2 seed, you still play 2 games at home. You still have 2 home games at Ford Field. You still have the advantage to go to the NFC Championship game. No matter who you end up playing, whether it's the 49ers, Seahawks, or Cowboys, they still have to come to Ford Field, and they have to have that crowd against them. That's right. And that's one of the tougher places to play that we know of. And I'm sure the Seahawks, even though they beat us earlier, I'm sure they don't want to come back. So that's where I'm at with it. It's, hey, if you get a 2 seed, you're still good. And I'm gonna say this as well. I'm gonna put a Booner guarantee on this.
Oh, here it comes. Da-da-da-da-da.
A Booner guarantee. Thank you, Nick. If the Detroit Lions get a 1 or 2 seed in the NFC this year, they will be playing in the NFC Championship. That is a guarantee from me. I truly believe that if they play in 2 straight home games in the playoffs, they're not going to lose both of those games. And I know it's like crazy because it's like, oh, they haven't even won a playoff game yet. And don't get ahead of yourself, Booner. That's just a fact. Like, you have the advantage at that point. You have full advantage at that point. And then as soon as I said that, Easy, it clicked in his head, and he was like, oh,
you're right.
You're right.
Yeah.
And then I told him, I was like, I'm 2-0, so you've never lost. And he was like, all right, fair enough.
But if you look at it, even if, and I know that the argument or this is about Lions fans and like being a fan base that has confidence in the team win, but even taking that out of it, just looking at it from a football perspective, this team can compete with anybody. But I don't understand what. You can certainly find areas where they might not be as good as the Eagles or as good on defense as the Ravens or as good. There are areas where they're weaker than some other teams. But for anyone who knows a little bit about football to say this team doesn't at least have the pieces to go on a playoff run, to go contend, I'd say they're crazy.
Yeah, and in the Woodward Sports YouTube chat, Tyler Chauvet. He said, what have we done versus good teams, though, to make you think we are legit contenders? Listen, I'm not saying they're going to go win the Super Bowl.
We beat one of them. We beat the defending Super Bowl champion.
100%.
To start. Continue.
But I'm not sitting up here saying they're going to go win a Super Bowl. Like, that's the guarantee. What I'm saying, though, is when you have 2 games at home and you're potentially going to play the first one versus the Vikings, Falcons, Bucks, one of those teams. Listen, you already beat the Falcons by 14 points. You already dominated the Bucks by another 14 points. You've beat the Chiefs. You went up versus the Seahawks. Just looking at the schedule, you lost the game to the Seahawks by a coin toss. If your offense gets the ball the way that both offenses were playing, whoever just won the coin toss wins that game. So you lost by coin toss. These teams that you're going to get in round 1, round 2, and I get it's the playoffs, you've already played some of these teams. So this whole, if you haven't beat contenders or over 500 teams, some of these teams you've played are going to be wild card teams in your conference. You're going to match up with some of these guys. Same thing with the Seahawks. It was a coin flip away from beating them.
And
it's not crazy.
This team, this coaching staff has proved they're able to learn from their mistakes, and that's part of why I'm buying in more than ever this season. That Seahawks game was tough, and whether you want to say it was a coin flip or, I mean, to me, it's just a lot. You lost the game to a good team, but Aaron Glenn did not have his best coach game from that. He's been with outside of that Baltimore Ravens game, he's been great since that moment. And we just saw Seattle get absolutely destroyed by the Ravens.
Yes.
The Ravens are that good. And I don't mean to weasel around and make an excuse, but I think they're learning from their mistakes against some of the better teams. I think they learned from some of their mistakes against the Chiefs, too. Even in that win, they didn't play perfect football, but they managed to escape out there, and they can take the good and the bad from that game. And yes, there was no Chris Jones, there was no Travis Kelce, but it's still a difficult place to play and still an experience. It was the first game on national TV. The old Lions would have blown that one.
Oh, 100%.
Without a doubt.
A lot of those games, like, there's so many situations, like the Ravens situation, when you lose by 30 points, the old Lions would come back and drop the ball the next game. They came back and dominated, and they had mistakes, and they still won. And that's one of the biggest things with this team is that there's all of these mistakes. And the old Lions teams, you have 3 turnovers, you lose by 30 points. This team right now, you have 3 turnovers at this point of the year, Broder, early in the season, and you still find a way to win. You take those turnovers away, like I can't remember who it might have been Tyler Chevet as well said it. Like versus the Seahawks, you had 3 turnovers versus the Seahawks, and you still almost beat them.
Yeah.
In the playoffs, at that point, if you learn how to eliminate that, just like Dan Campbell said, that's what Dan Campbell worked on in the bye week. He said, what do we need to work on? Playing as a unit, offense, defense, and special teams, and figuring out how to take care of the ball and convert on 3rd downs on offense. Those were literally in the press conference today. Those were the 4 things he said we need to work on going forward. Turnover
takeaway ratio needs to be better. Red zone on both sides. Red zone execution needs to be better in 3rd quarter production on both sides.
He did a great job. That's why I have confidence.
Yeah.
Seeing Dan Campbell, if you guys have not seen it yet, go watch it, because what he talked about it was great.
I love since we're talking fan perspective, Nick, Jalen, is this do you guys have a comment on where you see the Lions at this point? Like where are you bought in on this topic, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, to think that the Lions are not for real NFC contenders is just horrible take on Easy's part. Honestly, I don't agree with him at all. He can have his own takes. I don't think, obviously he has some hot takes here and there, but to think they're not an NFC contender is just blasphemy. I think you see what happens when they go up against the Seahawks. The pick 6 was the difference in that ball game. They win the game without the pick 6. You cut some of the turnovers out, you'll be gold. I think Jared Goff traveling to Philly is the only thing that scares me. And besides that, and maybe traveling to San Fran, but at this point it looks like we'll have a better record than San Fran. So, I mean, maybe going to Philly is the only thing that actually scares me in this NFC picture.
That should be the NFC Championship.
Exactly. Like you pointed out, if we get 2 home playoff games, I expect us to win both of those games.
I'm not like 100% confident, but even if you play the San Francisco 49ers at home, it's gonna be a pick'em game.
Yeah,
like if you go on the road,
favored.
you're a 3 or 4 point dog.
Yeah.
Here, you're either favored or it's a pick'em. And I'm not gonna say it's a lock of a game, but you're at home and you're not outdoors, and that they're gonna have a hell of a game plan to beat the 49ers. Jalen, what are your thoughts on this one?
I'm only worried about Philadelphia. I said San Fran, but like you're starting to see that the system that he's in without those players that are, Deebo Samuel, stuff like that, it's not working for Brock. So that defense is better, but we don't know how Brock Purdy is yet. But I think, you can't name me 4 teams that are not, that we're not mentioning. Niners, Eagles, us, and the Seahawks. The Cowboys are number 5 for sure.
Yeah.
I don't give it to. We could be number 3 or number 2, but I think we get a home playoff game, we win that. Philly is the only problem, and they had a close one with Dallas this last weekend, and they pulled it out. So I think Philly is the best team in the NFC right now, on paper and on skill. But I don't know, man. I think I ain't worried. We'll see them in the NFC Championship. We'll beat Seattle again or Dallas or whoever. But yeah, I'm gonna just keep it straight. I'm not worried. Philadelphia though, is that Lincoln Financial or Lincoln Financial? Is that the field?
Their stadium is it rocks.
Yeah,
so.
you don't want to go there in the wintertime.
That's a tough place to play.
We'll see though. But
if we do go there, CJ Gardner-Johnson will likely be on the team,
ready to go,
and he hates Philadelphia.
I will say with the Eagles though, real quick, I know they're 8-1. But if we're breaking it down, because Easy's been doing this with the Lions, like, they have one over team, they beat over 500, all this. Like, if you really break it down, the Dolphins, they haven't beat anyone. They've only beat one team over 500. If you really want to break it down with the Eagles as well, who have they beaten? They've only beaten the Dolphins and the Cowboys. The Cowboys, who had a terrible loss to the Cardinals, and who to me is a fraud team, and the Dolphins, who as well, just like I mentioned, only had one game over 500 they've won. One. So if we're really breaking it down, if you're going to sit here and talk about the Lions being a fraud team and not winning these, playing 500, go look at the Eagles. They played the Patriots, trash. Vikings, trash. Bucks, we beat them by 14. Commanders, they're potential for a wild card, but not great. Rams, trash. Jets, decent. Zach Wilson, who cares?
Just beat them, right?
Oh, Jets beat them. They lost to the Jets. So, like, what are we really like? And I get the Eagles are 8-1. They're scary. They're playing well. They have
and they're the best team in the league.
All around. Yeah, best team. I don't know about best team in the league, but maybe.
Oh yeah,
power rankings tomorrow, by the way.
Facts.
But yeah, you see what I'm saying? It's like this isn't like you're not out of this race here. This is not crazy to think that they have this chance. And the Eagles, Broder, let's just count how many one possessions games they've won. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 one possession games. You're in that game. The Detroit Lions, it's down to one possession. You have a chance to win that game. They've played in 6 one possession games out of their 9 games.
I will also say we are obviously not rooting for injuries here.
Whoa!
But Jalen Hurts' knee has been questionable. He's my fantasy quarterback. I'm leading the league here in my thing. And Jalen Hurts it's where it hurts. It's the team name. His knee is questionable, and it is worrisome. I'm sure a lot of Eagles fans are feeling a little uneasy about Jalen Hurts' knee.
Uneasy.
Hey, before we go to break real quick, I see Chris in the chat. Chris forgot to do this on the heavyweights, but shout out to Chris's dad. It is his birthday. Happy birthday, Mr. Palette.
CP!
Happy birthday.